Hello, Stacy. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine. Thank you. Thank you for this invitation, and thank you for all of your beautiful posts.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Oh, can you see me okay? Hello, welcome.
Yes, I can see you. I can see you perfectly.
Okay, brilliant.
I can't believe you're in the UK, correct?
Yes, I am.
Oh my gosh, it's so what technology is so remarkable.
Yes, that's the beautiful thing, isn't it? It is.
It really
good.
is. It's amazing. You're across an ocean and on another continent. I'm just blown away by that.
And we're actually having a public dialogue.
Yes, I've been following you for almost a whole year now. Wow. And you've been such a great source of inspiration. And I've shared so many of your posts with my colleagues. You're kind of a rock star with me, so that's awesome.
Thank you. That's fantastic. Because the fact is, I realize, a lot of educators need support. And anytime I find anything, and in terms of when I do anything, I think, yes, because I'm an educator myself, I need to focus on that. Because there are times we need support and people don't always realize or recognize that we need support, because instead educators are always having a bad deal, especially with the parents. So it'd be quite nice for us to actually discuss what I want to look at today is the relationship, because you have been teaching online, haven't you? So what I want you to tell us is, what is the relationship between you and the parents, and the relationship between, you and the student themselves, and how things have changed for you.
Well, I have some positive changes, both with parents and students. Mm-hmm. I have close to 130 students on my caseload between all of my day. Mm-hmm. And I feel like with some of my assignments, I've been able to give more one-on-one feedback. It's faster and it's much more meaningful. Students have really appreciated it and positively commented on it, which is just terrific. And with parents, it's been, so in my school, we're assigned an advisory class it's roughly 30 students. I have 28 in my advisory class. Mm-hmm. And we've been responsible for communicating by telephone and email at least twice a week with mm-hmm. each of those 30 sets of families, mm-hmm. Which has been really great, except for I only have, of those 30 that are in my advisory class, I only have one of them in my academic biology class. I teach biology during the day. Okay. So I can't interact with the parents about, what did your students think about this assignment, or how did you help your student through any problems, or because those aren't the parents that are interacting with my assignments. Okay. So okay. I only hear problems from my students. So if a parent interacts with me, they're complaining, and which is really frustrating. And I've tried to, with my students every week, have at least one or two check-in questions. How is my organization? What did you feel about this assignment? Was it overwhelming? Did it take too much time? Or how are you doing? And I've received a lot of positive feedback from my students, because early on during the closure, I rearranged my whole platform, Google Classroom platform, and the kids really thought it was helpful. Okay. But because of my internet, I can't do very much online in-person instruction. So it's most everything that I've assigned has been read and discussed through Google Classroom platform comments. Okay. So it's fun to be able to write those out. or
Okay.
kids who will participate.
Okay, thanks for that. So how do you think that it has actually, how working online have actually affected your relationship in terms of your family life? Do you think anything have changed?
I think I'm okay. My family, I have 2 young students that are in grade school and middle school. So they have access to my computer during the day, and then I do my work when they're finished in the evening. So we're just staggered, which so it feels like, well, they're at work, I'm, cooking dinner, cleaning house, whatever. And then at night I get on to do my work after they've been finished. So it feels like the day is like 20 hours long.
Yeah. Because you are doing, you are doing your family because you have to support your children because they're at home, and you're also teaching. That's one of the things a lot of people have not realized, that as educators, we are juggling the balls at home, and it's even more so because we have to be educating our own children whilst trying to work online. Yeah, it's interesting that you've actually said that, you've seen so much benefits working online because you're able to give one-to-one attention. Do you think that that is, why do you think this is so? Why do you think it is that,
I think because I'm only getting assignments from about 80% of my kids. So I'm only having to give comments to about 80 students instead of my normal caseload of 130.
Okay.
Almost 20% of my students are not participating. So I have time to make individual comments.
Right. So why aren't they participating?
I live in rural Oregon, and many of my students live on Native American reservations, so they don't have access to internet, and they live too far from the school to pick up hard copy resources.
Okay.
Because they rely on bus transportation, and the buses aren't running.
Okay. It is so interesting that you're saying that, because it's really nice for people to hear that, because a lot of people assume that children have access to computers, especially in this day, this time, this day and age, etc. So it is really interesting, because the fact is, a lot of the children you really want to target, you can't, because they don't have access. So it's a real challenge. So how do you think, in terms of getting over those challenges, how are you supporting those children, or are you able to support them?
I turn a list into my administration every week of kids that I haven't heard of. But we're in the 9th week of closure, and I have, just in my caseload, 18 students that I have not heard from. I've tried to call, but I don't have good working phone numbers for their families.
Okay.
Or them. And so my administration has tried to reach out, but I feel like they're just completely lost. I don't know what will happen to them in the fall when we return. I don't know how they will be able to catch up.
Whoa. So when you say you feel your administrators are really lost, in what way? Is it because that, you don't know how they're going to get to these children, or what's the issue there?
For many of our children, so our community was hit with a flood, a catastrophic flood 2 weeks before closure, and it affected lots of families. So we don't know where they went. We don't have current phone numbers. And then we have a whole population of students who were on the margins even before closure.
Okay.
With attendance issues. We live next to a Native American reservation. So the Native population, the indigenous population, many of them live in poverty without access. They rely on public transportation, the school buses, to get to school. And when those aren't running, they don't have access to town at all.
Whoa.
So, and then we also have a large Hispanic population that are like migrant working based population. And so when they ran out of work because of the closure, I think many of them just left the community, but we won't really know until fall.
Okay. So it's really challenging, isn't it?
It's heartbreaking. It breaks my heart. I don't know if those students are safe, are well. I don't know anything. It's been heartbreaking. You know, I have 18 kids on my caseload that I haven't heard from in 9 weeks.
Whoa. So you don't even know, what the situation is in terms of the mental health state.
Or their physical health.
Exactly.
I don't know where they physically are.
Wow. So is it a situation that, oh shucks, I keep on. Is it a situation, are you able, oh yeah, still no. Is it a situation where administrators are unable to communicate with these children?
They're trying. I think my administration, they have been at our school and driving throughout our communities 7 days a week. They're doing the best that they can. Our community is really spread out, so our school district has kids that are within about 100 miles distance, different ranches and different communities. And so I know that the administration is doing, they're doing everything that they can to find these kids as well.
Okay, so
but the reservation is kind of a, excuse me?
So what did you say, the reservation? Sorry, that we keep on having intermittent.
The reservation is a whole different community. They are independent of, they're a sovereign nation. And so the indigenous community has their own community outreach, and it's really hard to interface there. It's like dealing with kids from a different country.
Wow. Just hold on 1 second. Let's see if we can get Josephine.
Yes, hello.
Hi. We are unable to, there's Stacy. Both Stacy and I is on the line. So if you just say hello to Stacy.
Hello, Stacy.
Oh, hello. Are you in the UK as well?
Yes, I am. I'm in the UK. Where are you, Stacy?
I'm in Oregon, USA. I'm in Pendleton, Oregon.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, nice to meet you.
Josephine, I cannot see you at all.
Nice to meet you too.
Josephine,
I know. I'm not at home. I'm out and about, and I'm with I'm with family. That's why you can't see me, and that's why I was muting for a while, because I was with I'm still with a few family members, but I've just moved away for a little while so that I can unmute myself, because I realized you've been trying to unmute me for a while.
Yes. Okay, Josephine, you have been teaching online, haven't you?
That's right. Yes, I have.
Okay. Can you, what's the relationship with you and the students now that you're teaching online, and how different do you think it is in terms of when you're teaching face to face, and now online? What's the difference, Because Stacey have said to us that she feels that she's actually, she have more time with the students. Isn't that true, Stacey? Because she's teaching online, she's got more time to have one-to-one session because she's got less students now. What's the situation with you?
Right. Mine is quite different to Stacey, and a little bit similar as well in some instances as well. I have students, because the students that I have, they're on the BTEC program, and usually students who are on the BTEC program aren't usually very academic students, and you know, so sometimes, you know, having to push through to make, you know, to make sure that they achieve the grade that they need to achieve. So whilst they are online, some of them haven't been totally engaging. A lot of them are a lot quieter. Some ones who aren't that quiet in class are a lot quieter, you know, than, you know, than they, you know, than what they used to be in class. And you know, sometimes you would ask questions, you know, and nobody wants to answer, and then you sort of prompt somebody to speak, and then everyone just says, I don't know. And then you ask the next person, and then you keep asking, and then you try to prompt a bit more, you know, question, you phrase it, you know, so a lot of times it's quite difficult. Whereas I feel, you know, I've had some, because I have 6 groups of level 3, and I've 3 groups of level 2s, and I noticed that it differs from one group to another. You know, some group are very, very, you know, enthusiastic with it. Yes, okay, miss, I've done this. Okay, miss, what's that? Okay, miss, what do I do? And whereas some groups, you know, they just shut down on you. They don't want to speak to you. They just want to just, you know, be there. You can take the register so that they can go off and do whatever. And then you ask them, where is your work? And then they just shut down on you. Whereas when we were at school, no one leaves my class unless they've got the work, and they know that, because I will not let you leave my class unless I see the work that you have done. So which means my motto is, if you don't do it in your in my time, then you're going to do it in your time. So that means if you don't do it in the time that the timetable says you should do it, then you do it when you know, when you meant to go for your lunch, or when you're meant to go home, or it's your break time. That's when you're going to decide that you're going to do your work, because you spent the whole time doing nothing. So I don't have that privilege anymore. Sometimes some people will be on the phone, be talking, and I can see that they've put me on hold. Or sometimes they've walked off. They've left the class. You know, sometimes they've left the classroom, and then I'll be trying. Quite a few times we're trying and get them to come back, and then I will say to them, you know, because a lot of them, they love their attendance, because their attendance links to them getting bursaries, their attendance links to them achieving to go to the next year. So they know that, you know, so they know that if they don't come in to class, they won't get their mark to be registered in. So I would, you know, use language like, if you don't come back, I'm going to take you off the register because you're not here in the classroom. And then I get them coming back, oh, sorry, miss, technical problems. And then you know, it might be, it might not be. Or I get people who don't want to come at all. They will tell you, I've got technical issues, I can't join the class. But what do? What do you say? So you just say, okay, you know, so you're going to take it with a pinch of salt and just get on. And some students are genuinely struggling because they have, because a lot of our students are from, you know, different backgrounds, and some of them have large families, and with that, some of them are probably sharing 2 laptops amongst several siblings who as well have to be in classes. So some of them aren't able to join the class, and then you ask them, why aren't you in the classroom? You know, in the first instance, they would try give you a bit of they try give you that attitude. That attitude always represents that they're probably hiding something from you. And then and then you try to push a bit further. They'll be like, oh, okay, miss, we've only got 3 laptops at home, and then blah 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 blah. And then what do you do? What do you say? Then you gotta try and find a balance. Okay, but the ones who are really truthful, when you send them the work later on, then they come back and they do it later, and then they say, okay, miss, I've done this. And then, so which kind of means that, I'm usually, doing classwork and then doing one-to-one mixed together. And then a lot of time I find myself, even, outside of my working hours, I'm still working. I'll have students message me at 8 o'clock at night, my time, and then but I feel responsible for these students, you see, that I want to make sure that they all achieve. And because I have that strong strong feelings that I really want my students to achieve and to progress. You know, I'm putting my all in all. That could be because it's my, I mean, this is my NQT year, so you know that might be the reason why I'm very passionate about it. I don't know, you know, but I do in all feel very passionate about it, and I want to put my all to make sure that every child that comes to my class achieve the grade they're meant to achieve. If it means me sacrificing my time for you because of this pandemic, I do that, and I go that extra mile to try and do that. I've been on the phone for 2 hours, you know, doing one-to-one with a student, you know, and, because they're trying to get their work done, and then that particular student, you know, in the instance, wasn't coming to class for like a very long time during the time when we had classroom interaction. Now realizes that, you know, it's end of the year, and it means that she's not going to progress because she's got no work done for me. Now, you see, I'm a sucker for that. You see, I want to make sure that every student progresses, and even though I feel that, you know, okay, but the fact that you've come back, I'm gonna give you that chance. The fact that you've come back, I will give you that chance, because you came back, it means you really want it. So I will give you that time, even though I know you didn't do it when you meant to do it. I'll give you the chance to try and, you know, get that done. Because if we were at school, most likely you will be one of the people that will come back later to achieve what it is that you need to achieve. So which means that time has been set for those students who haven't done the work. Time has been set for them this time of the year for them to be able to get that done. So so that's my experience. I've been talking for a long time, and I feel like I've said so much. So that's
no, that's fine. Another thing is, do you think that your relationship, Josephine, thanks for that, do you think that your relationship with the students, now that you're actually having 3-hour conversation with them, etc., do you think that your relationship with them have changed considerably now that you're doing online than when you were in the classroom? What do you think the relationship is now? How would you rate this relationship?
With some of them, it has, because they shut down quite quickly. And with some of them, you know, because I'm the kind of person that I am, I'm a very playful teacher. I don't take things too seriously, because I think life is just too simple. So I'm a playful teacher, you know, and that shines through even in my teaching. Sometimes I do carry on with that playfulness, because this is a time when you need to try and make everybody happy. So my relationship with my students in some instances have changed, and in some instances with some of them it really hasn't. It's just carried on as normal. So depending on every person, really, because everyone's different, because you know, some of them will tell you, miss, this is what I'm going through, so they shut down on you because they're going through stuff. And then some of them will tell you what they're going through, and then, you know, they keep it moving, they carry on with whatever they're going to do. So, you know, so in that regards, you know, and actually, you know, I've had some students who haven't really spoken to me about personal issues before, during this time have actually you know, talked to me about their personal issues that they have outside of teaching, and I was able to kind of you know, guide on how they should on how that student should progress with what concerns you know, their heart or whatever, you know. So which I was quite happy that, you know, that particular student felt comfortable enough to you know, to discuss that with me. So yeah, I would say in some cases yes, in some no. So yeah, that's my answer.
Do you think that, you know, to maintain relationship with your student, do you think that is easier online or offline?
It's been easier offline.
Why?
Do you mean, when you say offline, do you mean at school?
Yes, I mean at school, you know, in the classroom, etc.
Yeah, you know what, it totally has. You know, I go back to what I said previously. You know, if you don't finish your work, you're not leaving. Now, whether I say they're not leaving or not, they've gone. They've gone. They're not even listening to me. You know, so you know, with that, it's really, really difficult. So it is, and having to make sure that you keep that respect going, you know, that whatever it is that you've come to do, it's worth it. Yes, you're going through this, but you know what, it's worth it. You're gonna come out, you've spent how many months at college. You don't want to stop now because you're nearly there. So don't stop now. Keep going, push through. It's difficult. So yeah, so those are usually my words. Keep going, guys. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's do this. I've got this work for you. Let me see it. And a lot of them know that. At the moment, we actually predicting all of them. Actually, we are giving them all predicted grades, which means what grade do I feel that these students will achieve if this pandemic wasn't there. So a lot of times I'm having to predict, well, actually I had to predict all my students with their grade, and I had to defend each grade why I gave. So it meant that, all the work that you've been doing, I actually need it for me to be able to grade you. So come on, guys. I need you to do this, because if you don't do this, I can't defend, whatever grade, I give you. So I need you to work along with me, because if they come back and say, why have I given you a P, or why have I given you an M, why have I given you a D? I have to be able to say why I've given you those grades. So yeah, those are usually my tactics. So yeah.
In terms of, do you have any relationship with the parents, with some of the parents?
Parents, you see, because I'm an NQT, I'm quite shy with parents. I'm very, very shy. Even when we had parents meeting and stuff like that, I'm usually very shy. I don't, I feel like, oh, okay, I don't want to get no person into trouble. So I try. Because I've been young before as well. And I remember being young. When you go into parents' meeting, I know getting into trouble. I know when my teachers say things that aren't very good about my work. How my dad, oh my goodness me, the trouble that I will get into when I get home. Even before we leave, my dad gives me the look. I got the look. So I'm very cautious about that, because I know what it's like to be a student, and I remember what it's like to be a student. So a lot of times I remind my students, look, don't make me be calling your mum or your dad to be telling your mum or your dad about what it is that you've been doing. Don't let us get to that stage, because I'm a realist. I would say to my students, look, they're going to ask me, if you haven't done your work, they're going to ask me, what have you done to get the work? And if at the end of this course, I don't grade you a grade because you haven't given me enough work, and then your mum and your dad say, why haven't you given my child a grade, and blah, blah, blah. And I'll say to that student, what am I going to say to your mum? They could say, why didn't you tell me? And then my thing is, I don't want to get you into no trouble, because I know half the time, if I'm calling your mom, I know it's not going to be easy. So don't let us get to that stage where I'm going to call your mom or your dad, because I teach 16 plus. So you guys are big girls and big boys. You don't need mommy, coming to come and tell you to straighten up. You can do that yourself. You know how to straighten up. You know what you got to do. You know what is expected of you. We have this thing in our college called monarch students. You know what's expected of you. You know what is required of you. Just follow it. It's not hard. It isn't that hard. You're here for a reason. You're here for a purpose. Just get on with it. And once you get on with what you're gonna do, I'm good, because if I'm good, then you're good.
Yeah.
So my relationship with parents, I try not to have too much interaction. But when I feel it's really, before I contact parents, it's really bad for me to contact a parent. It's really, like, I've really exhausted other avenues. I've really, really, really exhausted all other avenues, because I try not to contact parents if I can. I try to get a student to straighten themselves up. you know, before I contact a parent. That could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing, I don't know. You know, it might be something I need to actually work on. I don't know. I don't know, but that's what I do, only because I remember being a parent. I remember being, you know, being a student, but I'm also a parent as well. So would I want my teacher, you know, my daughter's teacher calling me? I know if my daughter's teacher calls me about a particular issue, she is in trouble. In fact, she will never try that ever again. You know, so I wait to try everything I can before contacting parents. That might be more work for me. I don't know. I don't know. So yeah.
Yeah, but what works for you? If that works for you, that's fine, isn't it? You know, that's the thing about it. It's interesting because, you know, I've been teaching on and offline as well, and I find that I have a, you know, seems to have a relationship with the parents, lots more than I did when I was in the classroom, because the parents now, because they need to support the children, they want to see what the child is doing. So they're trying to get more involved and saying, okay, yes, well, I'll make sure the child do the homework and get it ready for you. You know, so I'm having that in terms of the parents' interaction. Whereas before, parents' evening, they're not interested in coming. They don't want to come. You know, but I find that I have them, you know, a little bit more eager now, you know, to see what the child is doing. So it's interesting because the question is, would these parents actually continue the relationship when they've gone back in the classroom? So you say no.
I don't think so. I think that there's been more communication with parents, but I almost feel they're resentful. They want me to give work to their student that the student can do independently. And they resent that it's taking time from their family, in their family, but it's so difficult because if I don't give them anything, I'm not helping their child grow. But if I go and make it too time consuming or too difficult where they have to ask their parents for help, then the parents are really frustrated. The parents are, they're really resentful, or the ones that I hear from. I don't hear any of the positive ones, or very few of them. I just hear, you know, my kid spent 3 hours on their biology homework. That's not acceptable. And it's like, I hear from other students that it only took 30 minutes. You know, did your child, or did you call me or email me so that I could help facilitate that to minimize, you know, 30. It was never my intent to make it a 3-hour assignment. So were they playing video games in the middle of that? Were they texting their friends? Were they wholly attentive to the assignment? And if they were wholly attentive to the assignment and it took 3 hours, that wasn't my intent. You know, your kid didn't talk to me. You didn't call me during that 3 hours. But then I hear the complaint at the other end that they couldn't submit the assignment because they didn't understand. And I have, well, all these other kids understood. Did you reach out to any of your friends? Or I just think that we hear so much from the complaint side, and the majority that are doing okay or even are appreciative, you hardly ever hear from them. So that's made me really reach out to my children's teachers for positive reinforcement, because or your website, some of your inspirational quotes and things like that have been important, because I feel like I've taken a lot of it. I think that when people can text or email, they can be much more negative and abrupt.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's not a face-to-face interaction. And so I just don't think that we hear from the positive end very often. We just hear from the negative end a lot, or I do. That's why I tried to reach out to my students and have at least 1 or 2 questions a week about how are you doing, how does this organization work for you? What would you like to see different? And then when I do get complaints, I can pull up those comments from their student and say, you know, this is the feedback that I got. Your student said nothing, or your student said it was okay, or your student asked me to do something different, and then I can show them that I did. So that's why I have appreciated communications with my students, because it's in writing. It's not that off the cuff in the classroom, hey, what went wrong, guys? And they'll be like, oh, number 4 was really hard, Mrs. Hanson. And then I'm like, oh, well, let's work through number 4 as a class. We don't have that interaction. But we have in writing, I have 10 kids who said number 4 was really hard. So then I can post an example of number 4. But I think a lot of times kids don't go back to the summary posts.
That's interesting, because, you know, as much as I get the parents interacting, I do have the negative parents as well. And you're right, because I seem to have more negative parents that isn't saying a lot. You know, they're not saying a lot, which is quite frustrated. Whereas, you know, for me, I also reach out to my son's teacher as well, because I feel it's important that, you know, they know that, you know, I'm here should in case there's any extra they need to give. Because I think that is important, because as a parent and a teacher, you know, you are aware of juggling both balls. Josephine?
Yes, I'm here.
Because I cannot see Josephine, you know.
Sorry.
You know, what tips would you know, for both of you, let's think of what tips would you give anybody in relationship, when they're looking at relationship, how to actually strengthen the relationship with the students online? You know, what tips would you be able to give them, or what thing can you take for yourself in terms of, on reflection, how do you think that you could strengthen the relationship with your students online? Or can you? The other question, can you?
You know,
go ahead, Josephine. Oh, I was just going to say, before a Zoom meeting or before communicating video chat, I always post the questions first. And then I read through their responses. And so if I get I don't know, or no response, or I didn't answer that one, then I can read through a couple of the responses, and then that usually gets the kids talking a little bit. Oh, I thought that too. Or I can even get them to raise their hand. How many people agree with this person's statement? So that's one way. When I do get to do video conferencing calls, I think that makes a big difference in participation. Because
it's like also knowing your student, isn't it? Because the fact that you know your student, you know whether or not they're likely to respond, or, you know, so you need to always arm yourself as teachers.
Yes,
Josephine?
You know, I think it goes back to what, you know, Stacey just said. But with me, you know, I'm not sure whether Stacey mentioned this earlier on. When you were saying, you know, you post questions. So I always, like, whatever questions I want my students to answer, I always post it. I don't just say it. I post it, you know, for them to be able to go back to go back to, you know, read it and digest it several times. But I like the idea of maybe posting the questions beforehand, getting them to think about it. But in a nutshell, I post mine during the class, and then I give examples and I ask examples of the students, and I give them time to go off and do it, and then come back and tell me what they've done, you know. So that's kind of thing that I do. So yeah, that's what I do. But that only works for my level 2s, not my level 3s. I can't do that with my level 3s, because my level 3s are more what's the word? You know, they think they're more grown. They think they're very grown, and they don't want to come back and do whatever. You know, my level 2s are more agile to do stuff. You know, my level 2s are really eager. My level 2s are very eager to want to do stuff. So I will post stuff and get them to do it. And I know for a fact, nearly half of the class will come back with answers. So that's probably what I would do. Always type it down, what the question is. So, yeah.
So, Josephine, do you give your level 2 the questions and get them to come off the Zoom call and then come back, and they come back?
When we first started, I used to do that, get them to go off and then come back. So that's what, when we first started, I used to get them to go off and then come back. But as time went on, I stopped telling them to come back. I asked them to post their answer on, you know, on the chat. So rather than them coming back, so after I've read the answer, I make comments at the bottom of each answers, and I get them all to post the answers so that everybody can see what the answer is. I tell them not to private message me their answers, because we're all learning from each other. But that's for classwork, not for you know, assignments. For classwork, I get them all to post it in a public place where we can all see it. Everyone can see it. And I always put little comments at the bottom, or I put emojis of what I feel about what they've written, or I would say things like, you know, great point, you know, perhaps think about this next time. Or if I see a continuous thing with everyone, then rather than putting it on each person's work, I generalize it. I would say, okay, I realize that you all seem to be answering a question this particular way. Perhaps next time think about this or think about that, and then, you know, expand a bit more. Think, you know, those kind of words. That's what I do quite often.
Okay, is there anything else, you know, one point from each of you regarding students' relationship and the relationship with yourself, the relationship with your family? Has that changed, etc.?
So because I have a young child, and it's been quite difficult to manage this online teaching at the same time to try and attend to my, you know, to my child, because, you know, sometimes, you know, during the time when I'm teaching or whatever, you know, she wants attention, or that's when she wants, you know, mommy to do stuff for her. Or sometimes, you know, she goes off and doesn't want to do her work, because at that point in time, I have to now struggle to try and get her back to focus. Yeah. And I've lost her, you know, yeah. So I'm always fighting a massive battle with my youngest child to try and stay focused, because, you know, imagine, you know, my husband is in one room doing his own thing, and my first child is, you know, doing her own thing, and then and I'm in the classroom teaching, making noise as well. So she isn't focusing. Yeah. She isn't focusing, and so I find that quite challenging, and always trying to manage that. And, you know, it's, yeah, I would say it's difficult, but we're managing through. We're plodding along. So in between, whenever I get time, like in between when I send students off to go and do their stuff, then I bounce on her.
Yeah,
I bounce on her, and that gives me time to sort of in between stuff. I do stuff with her in between everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I see Stacey nodding her head.
You know, so that's pretty much. So yeah, it is kind of difficult, but, you know, at the moment I think it's difficult for everybody. So I can't think my difficulty is more than somebody else. We're all facing this difficulty together, and
yes.
just have to manage through.
Yes. But it's interesting. I just think if parents become more conscious that we teachers are also parents, you know, I think they would be, you know, they'll see differently. They don't seem to think that we A, have a life, or B, have children ourselves.
Yeah, but that's life though, isn't it? You know, everybody wants their child to be you know, to be educated very well. Even as a teacher, there's still some things that I expect from my children's teachers as well. Even being a teacher, I still expect some kind of level what I want them to, because if I'm too understanding, human beings, they will leave you behind and they won't do what they're meant to do. So if I'm trusting, look, if anybody was like, was like you to think that, oh, okay, I have to make sure that this student must do that. But imagine, not every teacher do that, and I know that because I've worked with several teachers who are pretty much quite lazy in their teaching. And because of that, they're not. So if I'm a parent who isn't very pushy in terms of, okay, my child needs this, why isn't my child getting this? Because, why isn't she doing that? Just even being a teacher, I still have to question my children's teachers, because but does that make sense?
It does.
Because I might be understanding, I'm not too pushy, I might be understanding, but at the same time, I like my understanding not to be taken for granted, because some people will take that understanding for granted, and I have to make sure that, because my child isn't going to be left behind, because she's my first child is a very quiet person. She's really quiet. She won't make a noise if she's been mistreated. So I feel like I have to be the one to speak for her a lot of times. So even though I'm a teacher, no, I'm not. Well, I'm not a loud mum, but at the same time, what needs to be done, if it isn't, I will make a bit of noise about it. That's why I do what I need to do as a teacher, because I know that I have children as well, and I'm trusting that those teachers teaching my child is doing what they're meant to be doing, so that I can do what I need to do as a teacher with other people's children. So it's like they need to do their bit and I'll do my bit. Does that kind of make sense? And that way everyone's, I'm not going to stress you out if you're doing what you got to do. I will leave you alone if you do what you need to do.
Stacey, can I have one word from each of you before we actually close on?
Sure. I think that for me, because there isn't as much face-to-face interaction, it feeds my insecurities. I really worry, like, do they understand? Like, when I have a class in front of me, it's perfectly clear by just the looks on their faces who understands, who doesn't, and I can get a gauge of, okay, everybody break up and get started, and I know exactly which students I want to connect with right away. And I don't have a sense of that. I don't know, when I send an assignment out right now, I send it out hoping kids understand it. I agonize over how I word questions and how I word directions. Is this clear? Is this understandable? And then I worry. And then if I don't get a response from students, I tend to worry, like, oh, they must not have understood what I wanted, or is something happening to them? So not being able to have face-to-face interaction fuels my own insecurities with how efficient I am as a teacher. And so that's the hardest part. I can't wait to have my students back. I will pay far more attention. I will pay far more attention to their body language in terms of understanding and attentiveness. I miss being able to read those cues.
But one of the things, what do you think in terms of when they go back? Do you think that, online would be a thing of the past, or do you think that things going to be combined? What are your thoughts, both of you? What are your thoughts on that?
I think we're going to have a hybrid model. I'm not sure in my school is a big school, so I'm not sure we'll all be able to start at the same time. And so my district's looking at staggered attendance days, 2 days, 3 days a week for certain portions of classes. And so I think that there's going to be an online component with a in-building attendance component. And that might be, for us, our best case scenario. I'm really worried that we won't even open in the fall if there's a second wave.
That's one of the things we're looking at. Although, we told that the school's starting back next week, it's not realistic.
No.
You know, Josephine?
Right. Our school is going back in 2 weeks' time, and well, I know that not everybody's coming back. I don't know how they're going to police who is coming and who isn't coming. So I really don't know, but I'm just having that faith that that they know what they're doing.
But do they?
So you know, I don't know, because teaching is finished now for this academic year. Teaching is pretty much finished. So it's pretty much, I think the people that will be coming back will be level 3s, year 1, in preparing them for level 3, year 2, the people that will be doing UCAS. So I don't know how they're going to stagger them to come back, or how they intend to do that. They've put out lots of proposals, but I don't know how it's going to work. I really don't know, and I worry about how it will work. I really don't know. I really don't know. So, but my main concern is not even now. My main concern is September, when the whole school have to come back. I don't know how on earth the whole country is going to deal with that. I don't know. That pretty much bothers me a lot.
Yeah, that's one of my concerns as well, in terms of what happens when you have every mass, going back. How are you going to do that? That's the reason why, I think that, online will not go away. I think that a lot of institutions are going to still have a component of online. It might be 1 or 2 days, because I just cannot realistically look at it, how it's going to be all functioning in September.
Some universities have said that they are going to be functioning all next year from September online. I think either Oxford or Cambridge have said that.
Okay.
And I know Coventry University, for the first semester in September, is going to be online as well.
Okay.
So a lot of universities, they taking, they're going to be online. It's looking like it's going to be online.
Yeah.
For the first instance.
Yeah.
But I don't know primary or secondary or college what they're going to do.
Yeah, but you see, primary is one of the most challenging. How do you keep little children separate? You see?
Well, like I said, I keep talking about because I've got little ones. I've got one of the ones who they've said, Stacey, our Prime Minister, have said, reception classes, that's the kindergarten classes, and year 1 classes, and year 6 classes. I don't know if all those things make sense. So reception classes are usually a mix of 4 to 5 year olds, and year 1 are usually a mix of 5 to 6 year olds, and year 6 are usually a mix of
10 to 11
year olds. They come in, so my youngest falls into the mix of year 1. She's in year 1. She's 5. So her school have said, one of the things that they've put in place is, they call it bubbles. So they'll put each child in a thing called bubble. So they'll place you in groups. So they'll place each teacher with, I think, about 4 to 6 children, and they will be with that group for the whole day. So those children will be together the whole day. They're not going to mix with other people. They're going to be together, and I'm thinking, and they're going to have lunch together. They're going to be in that confined environment just for the whole day. That sounds horrible.
Yeah,
that sounds awful.
Yeah.
Even the thought of that, I can't let my child experience that.
Yeah.
Well, at the moment, I've taken the decision that no, she's not experiencing it. But I might not have no choice come September, and that frightens me, to be honest. Because, like you said, primary school children, are the ones who want to give you a cuddle, they want to give you a kiss, they'll tell you you're the best teacher,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, they want to help their friends,
Yeah.
you know, you're my BFF, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are the ones who, like with a snotty nose, you get tissue and then you blow their nose for them, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And these are the ones going back.
Exactly. So when you think of that, you're thinking a lot of thoughts have not been given to that at all.
Well, I think they have, because you know that we had this exam called SATs in year 2. So I think the reasoning behind reception and year 1 going back is to prepare for the SATs they're going to do in year 2. And the reasoning behind year 6 going back is because they move into year 7. So the reasoning behind that is to prepare them for secondary school, to move them to secondary school. So those are the reasonings, whether I agree with those reasonings or not, but those were their reasonings. And, I don't know. I don't know.
Yep. Right. Thank you very, very much, educators, for participating.
For having us. Thank you.
It was fantastic.
Stacey, nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stacey. Thank you, Josephine. And Stacey, you'll see me on my page. Thanks a lot. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank
you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.